Good afternoon. This is part one and hopefully the only part of this video. This is for a project I've been working on called micronaut vuejs with crud. Um, the concept was supposed to have been just a Vue.js application that talked to a micronaut backend application. As I've started to delve into it, I've decided to kind of add additional applications into the back end to make it work better in the case of having additional applications that hangs off of it. In this case, we've got a user base and a gateway. So the actual application itself starts off front end and back end. And there was another project called Hotel Info, which I've sort of deleted, and I'm sticking to this now because it's a better named project for what I'm trying to do or describe. So to run the application, you need to first of all run Docker. And then when you've got Docker running, you need to run these four applications to start up. And you can start everything up with this Gradle line. So what I've ended up doing is I've kind of hacked into what Grails did for a Vue.js site. And I've put in some of the files into here so that Gradle just sort of loads up the site. So what's actually changed about it is this project started off as typically a blank folder. In here I created mn create backend. I copied the Gradle build well, not the build.gradle, but the Gradle and Gradle wrapper and stuff back into the source folder. The build.gradle was slightly different, and you'd have to take a look at this to kind of do your own. And it kind of combines the different projects and puts different plugins to be used or dependencies to be used based on project name. And then inside each project, the build.gradle is slightly different to what you get out of the box, and it's got all this implementation and runtime only implementation stuff in there. For the back end to work with, for the front end, which is the Vue.js site to work with Gradle, what I found I needed was a build.gradle in there, and this build.gradle was from the Grails Vue.js site, and I put it in, and it kind of just works. And also the package JSON I'm using Webpack. So it's typically like what you would get with the Grails application, but on Micronaut. And it starts off all on one line, which makes it a lot easier to use. You can use npm run serve, which runs, it's not actually run serve, it's run dev. That needs to be updated because that's in the package.json. That's the script that you need to run to start it up. So with that all in place, we can simply, I'm going to show you all this working now. So we're going to start up Docker. I don't think that's going to work. Oh, it works. Okay. And then we're going to start up all four applications in one go. And I've added this kill -9 before the Gradle W, which sort of kills off. If we have a look at what this is, what you end up with is rogue processes of Node hanging about. When that happens, you also get rogue process of Java hanging around, and that 8080 is our gateway server. So when we run this command, which kills Node.js, what we find is all the Java processes have also gone because it's killed off everything that was hanging onto the node. So by doing it that way, which is pretty safe if there isn't anything because it's kill -9 blank, like you see there, it makes sure that the application always starts up correctly, and it saves me time from going and tracing ports and killing and processes, and killing and stuff. So It's when you repeat something over and over and over again that you decide to make it simpler. Anyhow, it's starting up the applications now, so I wanted to show you this crud application working through Micronaut with Vue.js. I've enabled user at the moment. The user and the hotel info aren't linked, but I want to single up the information and bind it together for the user information so that we got like a user details that's bound from the user base into the hotel app, and the user bit comes from the user base app. I'm not there yet, so I'll show you what I've got so far. And I've typically taken another project, which is I've got another project on my GitHub, which is called Vue Grails Vue Spring Security Demo, and I've taken the client side of it, the work that I did for that, and plugged it straight into the Micronaut application. So I think we're up and running. And if we go to 3000, we hit our fabulous hotel finder, go to hotels, we get to see a list of hotels and it's paginated. And this all works. I've just got all that to work today. You can do display, which displays the hotel information and the rooms that it's got inside it. It's been built inside it. You can edit and call this Waterloo. Save, and if we refresh the page, you can see it's still being updated onto the database with that value. The database that's being used is H2 database. So we've done edits. If we do delete, you can see delete also works and the record is now gone. We can also do add, and if we first of all we can search, so HIL, search, we've got one there, and if we add, open test today, HTT, you'll see in our search, the search is still live and it's picked that up. So that, not sure what that is, I've seen that before, but we can see that that works. So add search, the column sorting as well has been done, so you can see here it's working. Name as well, code as well. Username with, well, I'm not there yet. Last updated as well works. So take this off. I think there are some issues with some of this I hit earlier. I don't think it's perfect, but it's kind of working. So users is another backend application as such, and this. So the Vue.js is talking to the gateway application on port 8080. The gateway application. So basically, your gateway application is the only one that has a port bound to it. So if we go into to show you what's going on in the back end, the port is random, so that means we can start up many instances of it. And at the moment, nothing's bound in to say, well, interact and share information. That is another part of this project that will happen hopefully later, or it's going to be a different project, but it's related to this. But at the moment, they're all separate instances, but you can start many instances, and it will be up to console to pick a healthy node to serve the front end, whichever that is at the time. So that's your back end. Your gateway application is the one that runs on port 8080 and is the one that the Vue.js application talks to. So by support host localhost port 8080. And we've made this the sort of the gateway. The reason for that is because we've enabled cores on this single instance so that the Vue.js application can talk to the backend through a single point, which at this point seems like a single point of failure, but it's not, because all you need to do is use a proper load balancer and start up many instances of this gateway application, and share a host name between them, and they would all be running with CORS enabled, but that would be a single instance of CORS enabled rather than every application on your microservices with this enabled, and then your Vue.js trying to figure out which port to physically connect to, which the gateway does through console, because console picks out healthy nodes based on what it can find out there and whatever port they're running on. So that explains that part, hopefully, and the reason why this is bound to port 80 and why it's got CORS enabled. And we've got one more application, which is our user base, and that runs on ports random, like the back end application. At the moment, I've disabled security because I'm trying to figure out how to get security to work through all this. And they're all using H2 database to do the actual, when it starts up, it creates this bunch of random stuff that you can add to, but every time you start up, it goes away and starts it again. So what you've got on the, this is the user base, what you've got in there is user implementation, which basically is the core of what it does to do the controller work, and the bit as it starts up to create entries and stuff, it uses parts of this. And there's typically just a controller for it, which does the finding, listing, and all the rest of it. So when it does find all, which is the list, it calls users. Users is the implementation, the interfaces of users, which gets bound into this, and this is what actually picks up the work. And in here, when it does find all, it runs this query, and this is what gets returned to the gateway application, which then gets passed to your Vue.js application. Now the gateway, so in the user base application, what we've called it is the application name is called user base. So if you remember that now, what we've got is in the gateway application, we've got two clients and two fallbacks. So we've got a backend client which talks to backend application and sends all this stuff, which is the controller actions. And we've also got a user client which talks to the user base app, which was what I just showed you. It sends all this to the controller on that application. And this bit of the client bit is figured out by console as such. So console is doing that magic to figure out which healthy node to send it to. And the fallback is if it can't get through, we'll just send back some default information onto the user's screen. And then you've got a controller, two controllers, which does the actions, which just typically connects to the clients and does the work through them, through the gateway. And they look very similar, but they just do the different two clients as such. And what you end up with is what you see here. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've seen micronaut being used like a normal application as such. And it makes sense so far. I'm going to do some more work on this project. But at the moment I want to find this with this information. And then after that, I've got some more complex stuff that I want to do, which may be on a different branch or a different project from here. But I'm trying to keep it simple because this stuff gets so complicated very quickly, and it might be worth just starting a new project altogether to try and make more sense out of it, because it's just 5 minutes later it's a totally different project. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you. Bye bye.